I'm Nichole.
And I'm Giu.
And this is Nichole and Giu Live, our podcast where we talk about things we love, things we hate, and things we love to hate.
Today we're going to be talking about the movie Spencer.
Yeah, we really needed to find a Kristen Stewart movie. I think both of us were kind of drawing a blank. I kind of have a thing for the royals. I'm a bit of a Britophile, and I was like, let's check out Spencer, I guess. I'm really glad we did, actually.
I'm like the complete opposite. I know absolutely nothing, so Nichole is here to guide me through this journey.
Oh yeah, no, I know just a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I did know everybody's name.
I knew no one. I knew Princess Diana, and like that was it.
Queen Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, definitely Queen Elizabeth. I've heard of that one. I'm not quite that out of touch.
Yeah, so I think that we were both kind of like pleasantly surprised by this movie. Neither of us had any idea what to expect from this. I was honestly a little bit worried. I can't say that, like, I guess that I had like a wrong opinion about Kristen Stewart and also Robert Pattinson. I will admit it. I think in our early podcast, I was saying that I thought they were both terrible actors, and I have completely changed my mind about both of them. Like, I think they're both kind of fantastic now, and I think that even just rewatching the Twilight movie made me think that. I guess I wasn't ready for how good Robert Pattinson actually was until I had read Midnight Sun. But this is like really showing a whole new level of Kristen Stewart's like acting ability, you know?
I completely agree. I was stunned actually because I feel like there's just such a meme of like, oh, they're like both terrible or whatever. And I'm just not a person who's typically watched a lot of movies or anything, so it's not like I had seen this like big sample size of things to be like, oh, well, in this thing, Kristen and or Robert was actually blah blah blah. So I was just like, oh yeah, like they're like kind of cringe and memey in the Twilight movie, and
Pokey.
Yeah, exactly. I even kind of used to think like, oh, well, isn't the book like written that way? And then when we like listen to the book and then watch the movie back to back, I was like, oh, they actually are a bit different. Like, is it the acting that's like an issue? But like, I actually don't think so. I actually think it was
the source material.
I think we didn't give it enough credit.
I think it was just the source material that was the issue the entire time. That was why we thought they were so weird and terrible. It's just because Bella and Edward are weird and terrible.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it was Twilight all along.
It was Twilight all along. Honestly, okay, so completely backing out of like Twilight, because like I really have to give Kristen Stewart her flowers for this movie. I was kind of not pleasantly anticipating the accent that she was going to do. She did such a good job though. Like, her accent was spot on, like very posh. She sounded just like all the clips that I've ever heard of Diana.
I haven't seen any clips, but I can vouch that it did sound quite natural. I was pleasantly surprised as well.
It was so good. I was like, good job. I was like, just really proud of her. I don't know. Is it weird for me to be proud of her? But I was. But yeah, I guess we should like kind of get into it. Like, I think that we both enjoyed it. And with that, we can kind of like get into the meat.
Yeah, let's do it. So the theme of the beginning of the movie is it opens on Christmas Day, and Kristen, who's playing Diana, is driving down a highway in the convertible, and she's like lost, and she ends up like stopping at a diner to ask for directions, wearing like the best outfit ever. I was actually obsessed with all of the fashion in this movie.
Oh my God, they did a really good job because Diana is such a fashion icon.
That is the one thing I knew about Princess Diana, just her style.
It's like fashion icon. Yeah. But I thought it was really, I don't know. I liked the like scene where she walks into the little roadhouse because all the like diners and everybody that's there is like, oh, Diana. Like, they're like, oh my God, what's good?
They're all also very regular looking. Like, it's a very plain, like everything's kind of brown and gray. And then she's wearing like this red and green tweed blazer with like velvet lapels and like a Chanel bag, and she just looks like so cool. I love it. I think that was my favorite outfit in the whole movie, was this first one, but they're all really good, and I will I didn't take notes on all of them because I don't want this to be a 4-hour podcast, but just know that the costume design in this movie was excellent.
Out of this world. Yeah.
So eventually, the head of the kitchen staff, Darren, meets up with her on the road and he's like, "What's going on? Like, why are you driving yourself? Where's your security detail?" And she's like, "I'm lost," and ends up like by the side of a field with a scarecrow and it's like wearing a red jacket.
Oh, and she's like, "That's Papa's jacket." Like, she's like, "This is because I guess she used to her family home is both derelict. It's like a derelict abandoned building now, but it's also nearby to where she's going. The like royal residence where they spend Christmas." And she's like in her heels, like
Oh yeah, she's like running through the field in her heels. I don't know how she was like not sinking into the ground. I wonder how many takes that took. Like, did she fall?
probably.
How Bella of her. No, she didn't fall in the movie. But I'm just thinking, like, when they're filming it, like that must have been really difficult.
No, yeah, for sure to like run in those heels like that. And she just like hops the fence and she like runs over to the scarecrow and she like starts like ripping its jacket off. She's like, "It's Papa's jacket."
She like ends up taking it back to her room and like putting it on a mannequin. They're all going to Christmas. We got a bunch of shots of like all the different royal people arriving, and Nichole helped me along with who they were on the way. And I loved the swarm of corgis happening.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When Queen Elizabeth gets out her car, yeah, they like open the car behind her and like 7 or 8 corgis pile out. Like, it's so funny. And I was like, yes, this is a canon fact. The Queen is or was, excuse me, obsessed with corgi.
It was so funny. I fully didn't expect just like a literal swarm of corgis to hop out of the car. So everyone's there and Diana arrives last and she's by herself and she like has to sit on this weird scale that's like a chair when she gets there, and they have this strange tradition where she's saying that she has to gain 3 pounds to prove that she enjoyed Christmas, which I thought was like so weird.
Yeah, I have literally no idea if that's like an actual Windsor like Christmas tradition. I really don't. But yeah, it's like she like walks up to the guy and he's like, "You have to sit on the scale. Like the queen said so." And she's like, "Oh, I had it like the last guy didn't make me sit on the scale. Like we had like an understanding. Like it's fine. It doesn't matter." He's like, "No, the queen mother like said that everybody needs to sit on the scale." And it kind of, you see her kind of like react to it like she can, I think that it's very directed at her. Everything that is going on in this entire movie with the family, with the royals, is very like directed at Diana, like viciously, because Diana has an eating disorder, which is another thing that's like that's a canon event also.
Yeah, it very much, they were able to get across in like this way that really made you feel like anxious. Like they did a really good job like helping you feel how Diana felt throughout the movie, or how you would think that she felt, I suppose.
This is like a marvelous portrait of her, I think. And they did so well. Like everything is done so carefully in this movie, like even down to the sound design. Like Giu was just saying, it like they do a really good job like making you really feel what she's feeling. So this is kind of like one of the first moments where we really feel how like off she's feeling with the family, other than her like arriving late to this event.
Then her children come down, they greet her. They're just like talking about how cold it is, and she's like being pressured by the person in the doorway, like the butler, whoever it was, to like go meet her family for the sandwiches, and she kind of starts freaking out and goes to the bathroom to.
The holy sandwiches. Like yeah, she's very triggered by like all the weird rituals around food that the Windsors have.
Absolutely. And she's just in the bathroom and she just says to herself like 3 days, or she just seems like she's really, really dreading making it through this holiday. But already you can like start to like feel how anxious she is. So she goes into a room with a Christmas tree. this is later. I don't think we saw the sandwich scene. But her children like unwrapped gifts, and she like goes into the room afterwards.
The Windsors have like a strange tradition where they open all of their presents on Christmas Eve because something like I think he says that Charles, who's Prince Charles, Diana's husband, said that Santa does the day before for kings and queens. So that's why they open their presents on Christmas Eve.
That is really silly,
It
honestly.
is really weird and silly.
I don't think the kids even liked it. They didn't even want to open them early.
No, they wanted to be like regular kids and open them on Christmas. Yeah, so it's like there's that little scene of them like talking about it, and then I think the next scene is them like opening gifts.
Well, they didn't actually like see them opening. She goes down after. There's like wrapping paper and stuff everywhere, and that's when she like has the pearl necklace. She's like, "Oh, he bought her the same necklace," and like offers them to a maid, and then the maids are like, "Whoa, no, like we can't take that." But we're already finding out that like some heavy stuff is going on, and her kids can tell when they were asking about why they open presents on Christmas Eve. She's like, "There's no future here, only the present."
And the path.
Yeah, so it's not like trying to be hidden from the children. So they can tell what's going on.
They keep asking her like why she's sad and stuff. They can very much tell what's happening. And like you don't really get like this explicitly explained in the movie, but just from like the small like amount about the royal family in this era that I know, this is like it does say a little bit later on in the movie that they've been married for 10 years at this point. So this is when Charles is having like a full on affair with a woman named Camilla, who is still around and just keeps hanging out, and Diana like knows about it. So like I think that like the implication is that he gave Camilla the same pearls that he gave Diana.
Oh yeah. So he's not doing a very good job being discreet or anything. Like
No.
talking about how he essentially thinks that he's being sneaky, but not.
Yeah.
She's like, I know what's going on. And then later, this is like her dresser. I think that's what you call that position.
Yeah, her dresser slash like I think it's like kind of like her handmaid almost, although I'm not sure that they really use that term anymore. But this is Maggie, correct?
Yeah, Maggie brought her just a rack of outfits, and they're all like labeled for when she's supposed to wear them. And she's just like looking at like this beautiful green dress, and she's like, "This doesn't fit." And Maggie's like, "What do you mean it doesn't fit?" She's like, "It doesn't fit my mood. It should be black." And I thought that that was fun. And she's like looking at a black dress, but I was like, "How goth of you."
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was good too. And very understandable with like the weird pressure that she's under. And you also get like in these scenes with her and her dresser that like her dresser and her are like very close. Like it seems like Maggie, the dresser, is like the only person that Diana like trusts, really.
Yeah, it seems like this is her only friend at all, like in this whole big mansion that they're in.
And the whole royal family.
She's just saying that it feels like she's going to be on landmines at dinner, and Maggie's like, just stand still and smile, and like you're going to be okay, basically. So she's just trying to help her through what she knows is going to be a hard time for her friend.
Yeah.
And this scene was, I felt this one at dinner. They're like all eating soup, and she's like hesitating, and she just feels like everyone is looking at her, and the music is swelling while she's hesitating to eat, looking around at Queen Elizabeth and her husband and like the staff, and she just feels like they're all looking at her, and she like rips her necklace off, and the pearl necklace wasn't like these cute little like dainty pearls. They were freaking gigantic. They were like, I don't know, an inch around at least. They fall into the soup, and she starts shoveling them into her mouth. And it made me, like, I was like, oh my God, like, I actually feel anxious. This is like scary.
Yeah, this was like the first like really big moment in the movie that really caught my attention with the sound design being just like impeccable. Because when she starts to like kind of like have her like anxiety attack, the music gets all like weird and you start hearing like these like weird distant screams, and it makes you feel really off and like just like ugh, gross. And then she's like losing it, like freaking out, and you're just I don't know, like the sound design in this movie is so killer because also when like it's showing like all the royalty and all the posh things, it's like very like Regency era orchestral music. And then when like you had the earlier scenes of Diana just kind of like being a cool chick and just it was all jazzy. Like I really like what they did with the sound design of this movie.
I did too. The scene specifically I really liked too because there was like a string quartet in the corner, so the music starts out really pleasant and then like slowly gets distorted like the more she's eating. And I thought that that was really clever. And she ends up walking down the hall. She's just obviously in the midst of a panic attack or something, and she's wearing her necklace, so you understand at that point that she was imagining that.
Yeah, like a mental break.
And then she goes to the bathroom again, and then later sneaks into the kitchen pantry, which is just all these like immaculate trays of food. And she's like just sneaking little things like snacks, like little bits off of the different trays. I don't know this one's name, but the audio description said he was the page.
Think it was Major Gregory, and he came into the kitchen while she's like snacking, and he's like kind of like catching her out, and she's like feeling really weird because we're seeing a lot of like Diana's really messed up like relationship with food. Like a minute ago when Giu said that like, you know, after the dinner when she was feeling really unsteady, she like went into the bathroom. Like every time she's in the bathroom, it's like a very obvious scene of like her purging or like just after her purging. Pretty much whenever either of us says like she goes into the bathroom, like that's what we're indicating by that because she is a mess as far as the purging goes.
Yeah. Yeah, they make it obvious at the movie what's going on. And then even with like she's not eating at dinner and then obviously is hungry and like stressed and freaking out and then like sneaks down to the pantry to eat. It's just very sad.
Like relatable and sad, yeah.
Major Gregory is basically saying in this scene like that people are watching her or like they see what she does and like it gets, passed around and stuff and he is like, "Yeah, you've been like leaving your curtains open," but I think he's trying to warn her like, "Hey, I saw you doing this, so like other people are going to see it. You can't totally hide it."
Yeah. I think that he is like kind of trying to subtly give her a warning, but at the same time, like it's very clear that he doesn't give a shit about her. There are like a few of the characters, like the dresser, Maggie, and there's like a chef and stuff. Like you can tell that like some of the staff like really like care about Diana. She like just relates to them on like a much different level than everybody else. Like all of the royals.
Yeah, that's true. And in this scene where he's saying that like, what if there was a photographer outside when you were changing? She's like, "I'm an insect under a microscope."
Yeah. Everybody is watching. Everybody is watching her. This is like when the like pressure was really getting turned up on her. And nobody was giving a shit really about the fact that it was Charles fucking cheating on her. But, whatever.
Classic double standard.
It is. It is. It's just like a really, the press killed Princess Di.
True to everyone watching her at night, that same night, she tries to sneak out and like go to the old house that Nichole mentioned earlier. And these two police officers are there and they see her. And she's like, "Hey, can you just like pretend this didn't happen?" And they're like, "Okay, we will."
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell it's like some of the people really care about her. She kind of intonates to them. She's like, "Yeah, they're like always watching." She's like, "But I would really like appreciate it if you like wouldn't tell them that I was here." She does like she doesn't go on to the house. She turns back and goes back to like the main house. She's like, "I would really appreciate it if you didn't let anybody know that I was here." And they actually like do try to cover for her, which it just kind of goes to show like how much like everybody loved Diana. Like everybody.
Yeah. Except her family, I guess.
It literally except her family.
So sad.
It really is. This whole movie is sad. Like the whole thing is sad, but I love her. She's the people's princess.
Yeah. The next scene I feel like her children at least care about her, which they're young, so of course they care about her,
Oh
but
my gosh, she had little Harry
yeah.
and William.
Yeah, and the next scene they like play this game where they're like pretending to be soldiers and like they're saying like, "Oh no, like tell me the real like truth or whatever, private." And one of the kids, I want to say was it William, was like, "Why are you sad?"
Yeah, the older one.
And I'm just like, "Oh, yeah."
He's really kind of like understanding what's happening. I think Harry was like a little bit young. Harry loves his mom so much. I think Prince Harry was always like kind of a mama's boy. I mean, I don't know. I say this like I know.
Yeah, and obviously I'm like saying everything I'm saying in context of the movie. Like
The
they really
movie.
made it seem like her kids really cared about her and she really loved her children and loved being around them.
She loved her children so much. And like yeah, William, you can really tell that William like can tell that something's wrong with her.
Yeah.
And like during this whole game where they're like pretending to be soldiers and she's like, I need the truth, private. Doesn't she say, you two should let me know if I'm being extra silly anytime in the next couple of days, and I will only believe it if it comes from you.
Yes. Yes, that happens in this scene, which is just so sad in itself because it's just basically blatantly saying to her kids like, "Yeah, everyone is gaslighting me. The entire family is gaslighting me."
Everybody is out for Diana, like at this point. It's so sad. Oh my gosh.
And then we have the next day. It has a little thing on screen that we know it's Christmas now. And the first thing that happens to Diana is that she learns that her best friend Maggie was sent back to London for basically no reason
Yeah.
other than they just want to isolate her.
Yeah, basically, it's literally the only reason she was sent back is because she's the only person that Diana could rely on. So they have to take away every ounce of support or and care that she feels from anybody and completely isolate her to get what they want out of her.
The next scene, this was just a very like kind of, I don't want to say it was a nothing scene because I'm about to talk about it and why I thought that it was interesting, but I don't think it has a big emphasis on the overarching story, but they do like a family Christmas photo with everyone. And everyone's there except the queen and Diana, and there's like a chair in the center for the queen, and everyone's wearing like gray and beige, and the queen comes in and she's wearing lavender. And then Diana comes in, and she's wearing like this bright turquoise skirt. And I just thought that that was a really interesting shot because that was obviously very intentional.
The colors that they play with in this movie are really good as well. And this is like you're kind of getting Diana is doing subterfuge. Like she is lashing out the only possible way she can. You've like the whole scenes like with her dresser, you kind of you kind of come to understand that like somebody is picking outfits out for her. She is supposed to be wearing what they say when they say it. And I think the royals call themselves the firm.
Oh my god, that's creepy.
It is. It's super.
That sounds like an evil corporation.
They are kind of, but
I like they are, but like that's so close to self-awareness.
so close yet so far away from self-awareness. Yeah. But yeah, so like somebody in the firm has been telling her exactly what she's supposed to wear in every single thing. And what she's been doing to like fuck with them is that she's been like just swapping the events. Like it's like that was supposed to be her dress for church or like dinner or like something, and she was supposed to wear something else for the photo op, but she's just like, no, fuck you, I'm just like gonna wear this. And it's like because everything is supposed to be completely color coordinated and planned.
Yeah, so you can tell that it's like everything was very muted. The queen was supposed to have like her little light lavender outfit, and everyone else was supposed to be beige, basically. And Diana's like, screw you, I'm wearing my bright turquoise skirt to the photo. So that's what she does. And then they go to a church service after, and then the staff is like watching her on TV, and they're like, oh my god, she's like not wearing the right outfit at the right time.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the scene that they discussed that was like coming up right then. But yeah, they're just like, this is so scandalous. She's like fucking us over by like screwing up all of our color choices.
There's also a shot there after the church service where there's all the paparazzi, and you can tell like her anxiety is heightened, and that's another scene of like the music swelling and everything is like it's the camera starts circling her and all the pictures are being taken, and you can tell that she's just like having enough of what's going on.
Yeah, about to have a big old mentee bee,
Is
which I would too.
that from something?
I think that's just what the kids say.
Okay, I was like, I feel like I've heard that, but maybe I just heard it on TikTok or something.
You might have heard me say it because
Maybe.
I learned it from like our podcast queens, Ash and Elena, over on Morbid. Ash says
Oh,
it a
okay.
lot.
Yeah, maybe I've heard it from you. Like maybe you heard it there and then you said it. I was like, that sounds so familiar. I like that. That's funny.
Princess Diana having a big old mentee bee.
Sometimes you just gotta have a mentee bee. Gotta let it out.
Oh yeah.
All right. I think that this is later in that same day. Diana sees the men getting together and like shooting skeet outside, and then she confronts Charles in like this room with a big pool table, and she's like, "This isn't safe." And then he's like, "Yeah, well, you were late yesterday." And she's like, "Well, you're late all the time." Or they said delayed because they're fancy. They're like, he's like, "Well, you were delayed." And she's like, "Well, you're delayed more than me." And there's like gunshots going on while they're talking, and she confronts him about like why Maggie left, and he's like, because you left the curtains open. Or she says she maybe blames Maggie for it. Is that what happens? He said, yeah, he said that Maggie left her curtains open.
Yeah. And then Diana,
Like reason enough, I suppose.
to get rid of her, and then Diana is like, well, I left my curtains open, it wasn't Maggie, like what the hell, like y'all. And Charles is basically just like screwing with her. What does he say? He's like, they're watching us, they're scrutinizing everything we do, I thought you knew that. And she's like, well, they're watching me a lot closer than they're watching you. And like she kind of like, she never really lets Charles not understand that she knows what the fuck he's doing, which I love.
Yeah, no, she makes it very obvious. She literally says in the scene, like, hey, don't get us the same gift. She says she feels like that she's being watched, and that he has the audacity to say, well, I close the curtains. And I'm like, you kind of don't, though. Getting two women the same gift is not you closing the curtains, sir.
No,
That's you like putting it on a billboard. That's the opposite. What are you talking about?
that is a really good point, actually. It's like, no, sir, you are not being sneaky. Like, we know you got Camilla those pearls too.
Yeah, like everybody knows you're not being sneaky. There's just some really shitty double standard going on.
Just a big ass double standard. Yeah, everybody is like so focused on like what Diana is doing wrong. And this was happening like when she was alive, very much so. It's very like accurate to that.
Oh, I'm like mad for her.
I'm also mad.
Years later, I'm mad for her.
I will die mad about Princess Diana.
I bet a lot of people will.
Yes, they will. Like, the people's princess. The press killed Lady Di.
So we have next in the kitchen, she's talking to Darren, the head of the kitchen staff, and she's like asking about like what's going to happen to the pheasants. Also, I wanted to point out that like one of the first things that happened in the movie was that there was a dead pheasant in the road. So
yeah,
there's some symbolism there, probably.
Yeah, and Diana, like later on in the movie, compares herself to a pheasant because like of the pretty colors, but like somebody says that they're just like stupid and they get run over in the road, and you kind of like are like, oh, there was like a literal dead pheasant in the road at the beginning of the movie.
Yep. So Darren's just like explaining to her like all the different things that'll happen, and then he also kind of is like warning her, I think. He's like, by the way, if the staff finds out anything about you, it becomes currency here. And oh, another thing that Charles had said in the previous scene was he was like, well, Maggie said you were cracking up, which I don't think that was true. I think he's just a scumbag.
Yeah, no.
But she asked Darren, like, did Maggie really say that?
And he's like, I don't know. I don't listen. But like some people do listen. Anything that you say here at any time can be used as currency by the staff. Be careful who you trust. And then that's when she asks him if he kind of believes that Maggie said that. And I don't know if he does. I don't know if he even really knows Maggie, but he definitely is like, you cannot let even like the staff in on your weakness here. You will get taken advantage of.
Yeah, he said, I don't listen, I just cook.
I do love Darren. Darren was a nice character. You can tell that he really cares about Diana as well. He's also very concerned about her eating disorder. Like he's always like just nobody ever really directly confronts it, but he's always kind of like, I made your favorite thing. Like, let's hope that like the lady eats it. Like, we want this to be appealing for the Princess of Wales.
Yeah.
Yelling every time he's cooking.
Doing what he can, I think.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this scene, she asks him for wire cutters, and he's like, "Why do you want wire cutters?" And she's like, "To cut wires." I don't know. I like that they gave her some sass.
Oh, she was so sassy.
I like that a lot.
I really like I in my heart of hearts wish to believe that Diana was full of sass. I think she was. I think she
She
was full of
probably had to be to
Yeah.
survive as long as she did in that situation.
Yeah, I think she was like very clever, very full of sass and very like a very good person.
And then later outside, Diana's talking to a pheasant, and she's like, "You should fly away." And just like, "Oh, it's not safe here." And then Major Gregory comes out and basically just says that when he made his pledge, he made it to the crown and not the people. And I think we're just getting more instances of like, I think that there are people who like care about her and want to help her, but there's just not a lot that they can do for her because they're like powerless when it comes to like the fucking royal family.
The firm.
The
Like
firm.
there is a reason that they call themselves that. Yeah, and this is basically Major Gregory being like, you know, I had a friend in the army who was like really talking about like wild horses and telling me the story. He got shot in the face. And so you gotta just like do your thing. I took an oath to the crown, and that's what I care about. I don't care about people. Like,
Yeah, and I think he's in his own way trying to tell her, like, don't worry about the royal family being shit. Like, just focus on, like, your responsibilities. Like, don't worry about them.
I think he's also just pretty much trying to warn her. He's like, if you step out of line, it doesn't matter, like, if you are, like, a good person or not. Like, my job is to do what the crown tells me to do. And if that means I have to destroy you, I will.
I think he, like, doesn't want to, though. That's probably why he's out here talking to her.
He did give her the book about Anne Boleyn.
Yeah, he did.
There's been this whole sort of, like, side plot going on where did she find the book already?
Yeah, at this point she did. I think she actually says here, like, you gave me the book. And he's like, what are you talking about? What book?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, but she does like suss out that it was him that like gave it to her. But yeah, somebody left a book about Anne Boleyn in her room. And she like and obviously that's a fucking warning if there has ever been one. Cuz obviously Anne Boleyn famously had her head chopped off by King Henry VIII because he got bored of her. So, yeah, it's like an obvious like there's some parallels being drawn. She's actually like kind of in the throes of like her anxiety and like her mental breakdown. She's like kind of seeing Anne Boleyn like around the manor house. I'm not super clear on what manor house they're in, but she keeps seeing Anne Boleyn. I don't think it's a house that Anne Boleyn's ghost would be in. I think she's just having a mental breakdown.
Yeah, there's been multiple scenes so far of her like seeing stuff like the pearls and whatnot. So I think
And then like Anne Boleyn lurking in corners and like yeah, so she's like it's like her grasp on reality is becoming tenuous and we're really feeling it.
And then later, she's in her room, like ready to change, and she tries to open her curtains and sees that they've been stitched together. And then she has this new dresser that she's like, fuck you, you're not Maggie, so go away. And then the dresser like hesitates. And what does she say here? She's like, what?
Diana is like, get the hell out. I'm going to masturbate.
Oh.
And then she's like, and you can tell them that I said that.
That was so funny. Yeah, she gets like so sassy.
So sassy, except for she says that in like a super posh British accent, which I cannot do, but it was really good.
It was so funny. So after the dresser leaves, she takes the wire cutters that she has now acquired and opens the curtains and like throws them open. Good for her.
She uses those wire cutters for a lot. It's like wire cutters equipped.
That's accurate. And then right after this, because I think she had her dress on, and then she goes into William's room wearing just like a robe, and she like locks herself in the bathroom, and William's like, "You're being silly," like she had asked him to say.
Having like a full on mental breakdown. Yeah, because like the dresser kind of like puts her into like the Christmas Eve gown, and or it's not the Christmas Eve, but like the Christmas Day Eve, like a gown, like the Christmas Day celebration, and she kicks her out of the room, but she's like fully dressed, and she starts to really spiral. Doesn't she also like use the wire cutters to injure herself?
I don't know if she did it on purpose or not, but she does cut her arm.
According to the audio description, it said like specifically like Diana pinches the skin of her arm and uses the wire cutters to like it's from the audio description made it sound intentional to me.
Okay. It could have been. I'm genuinely not sure.
Because they say later, I think Charles says, no, Maggie says later that the staff know that she's been cutting herself again.
Okay. So it probably was intentional then.
Diana had a lot of self harm tendencies, part of that being the bulimia, but then also I think that she had like more, yeah, she has more intense self harm tendencies here for sure.
Speaking of the self-harm, we got another shot of her, like in like her really beautiful, like sparkly mermaid dress, like leaned over the toilet. And this is where I think this is the outfit she's wearing on the cover of the movie. And then Maggie comes in and she's like, "Oh my God, you're back!" And then realizes it's actually Maria, one of the other housekeepers.
It's yeah, she has a full on hallucination of Maggie like walking in and she's like, "Oh, please don't leave me, don't leave me." And then it like switches and you can it's a different dresser. It's like not her friend and you can tell she's like really off kilter in this moment.
Yeah, she was just really disoriented. Like she was genuinely surprised to see when she realized that it was not actually Maggie. And then later that night outside, she just puts a coat over this beautiful dress that she has and goes back to the.
She basically tells them she's like they're trying to get her to come down to the Christmas party and she like is following them like at that point, right? She's like trying to get down to like the party and she just like starts to go down the stairs and just freaks out and just runs. It's just tell them I'm not well. Tell them I'm not well. I'm not well at all. I'm not. And she just starts like yelling that. And then obviously, so like so the whole while Diana is outside, like going on this like little trip she's about to go on, like is while the Christmas party of the Windsors is happening. Like they're having their feast.
Yes, exactly. Oh, and then what that part where she's running down saying she's not well, there's flashes of her and then Anne Boleyn running down a hall saying she's not well, and then eventually Diana's like in like Anne Boleyn's like full garb. So they're not even being subtle about it anymore.
All part of the Minty Bee.
Mm-hmm. So she goes back to the house that she was trying to get into, her childhood home with the flashlight, the wire cutters, and she like cuts the barbed wire that's there, and she goes into the home and just starts having all of these flashbacks to like her childhood. There's one of her in a wedding dress. There's one of her at the church service from a couple days ago.
The wedding dress, like Diana's wedding dress, like the just that big white dress with the train. She's like walking in that.
Yeah, the huge sleeves.
Yeah, there's like her as a little girl, like they're dressing the scarecrow, and it's just all of these flashbacks to all of these different points within her life. There's like teenage Diana, like doing a ballet like dance. I think she was a ballerina when she was a kid, actually. This is obviously very biographical. I say that like I'm surprised, but and then interspersed with her, like she starts having these flashbacks, and then she just really starts having a bad time, and she's just on the floor in her like old decrepit like house, just like everything's falling down, it's all splintery and like falling apart, and she's just on the floor sobbing.
And she rips off the pearl necklace here, and the pearls just roll down the stairs everywhere.
she sees Anne Boleyn, like, right before she rips off the necklace. Like, I think, Anne Boleyn comes out and is, like, actually like, "I also have a necklace, like, they gave me a necklace," and it's just, like, a very, like, poignant moment. You can tell that she's just, like, cannot, and then she rips it off and the pearls just, like, scatter everywhere.
Yeah, that was an intense scene.
Just good job to Kristen Stewart for this. Her emotions throughout this whole movie are, like, so believable, like, incredible, honestly.
I agree. She did a fantastic job on this whole movie. There wasn't one point where I was like, meh, like that was a little overdone or like whatever it would be. Like the whole time I was just like, wow, this is actually so good.
Like, just literally phenomenal.
All right. And then the next day is Boxing Day, day after Christmas. And Diana wakes up to Maggie holding her hand. Like Diana's laying in bed and Maggie's sitting on the floor next to her. And she's like, are you real? And then it turns out that she was, and they go to the beach. And then this is like Nichole mentioned, when Maggie's like, the family requested you see a doctor because you've been cutting yourself again.
And they're having, like, a really cute, like, heart to heart moment. You can tell that I think that, like, even Maggie's like, they requested I come back specifically, like, they sent me away, but then also requested I come back because you're having a rough time and they needed somebody to talk to you. But also you, like, find out that it was her husband Charles that sent Maggie away in the first place.
Ugh, makes me so mad.
Yeah, I know. And then I think it's, like, during this whole thing when, like, Diana's like, "What am I gonna do? Like, what am I gonna be remembered for?" Like, they remember Anne Boleyn for, like, having her head chopped off. They remember William for conquering. They remember Elizabeth for being a virgin, not the second one, obviously. And what will they remember Diana for? And she's just getting just so full of ennui, just, like, really doesn't really know what's up. And so Maggie decides to break the tension by just being like, "Well, I'm in love with you."
And Diana just starts laughing and she's like, what? And then Maggie's like, oh, surprise, they're gonna call you Diana the Surprise.
Shock looks good on you. Like, yeah, I'm in love with you. It's fine. Everything's good. I think that, like, Diana is very. They definitely. Did you get an impression that, like, she, like, is reciprocating? Because I didn't really.
I wasn't sure because she doesn't say it back, but they are like laughing and running on the beach. And when they got to the beach, like she was resting her head on Maggie's shoulder.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was a little bit, like, unsure about that as well. I mean, historically, I don't have any reference for that being true. I think that Diana, once her and Charles did end up getting the divorce, she went on to definitely be in relationships with men. She was in a relationship with a man, Dodi Fayed, when they were killed in the car accident, but that's obviously later. So I have no, like, historical basis for this being true, but, like, I do know for a fact that Diana was just the utmost of allies to the LGBT community, like, in her life, like, in a time where it was really kind of, like, uncommon for someone with such a platform to be so outwardly allied with gay people, basically. And so she definitely, like, she holds Maggie's hand and she's just like, I'm so open and caring to that. Like, that they definitely do have, which I thought was, like, important because Diana is such a figure of, like, it was, like, just genuinely so important that Diana was so open to the gay community at that point in time. But I'm really unsure on if they, like, just decided for the movie to kind of give her a bit of a lesbian lean. Like, I don't know. That could have been a directorial choice.
Yeah, I have no idea historically. I have actually heard that as well about Princess Diana, that she was like very pro LGBT, which I think is very nice.
Wonderful. Yeah, she like, shook hands with gay men infected with AIDS, like, publicly, like, in a time that it was, like, really not okay to do that. that.
Oh, I've heard about that. Wow, I knew more about Princess Diana than I thought. I knew two whole things about her.
Yeah.
But that's honestly so iconic. I love that. Maybe this was just their way to kind of incorporate some of that into this particular storyline.
Right. Without, getting into that whole, but like it really is very clear that like whether she reciprocates Maggie's feelings for her or not, she loves Maggie. They're best friends. The whole like next part is them just like having such a good day and being free and just running around like on the beach together.
Yeah, it's very, very cute. Like, I don't think the point even really matters if they have feelings for each other. It's just that they like love each other and they're there for each other and they're happy in that moment.
And they're like friends. They're best friends. It's the
Yeah.
only real friend that Diana seems like she has.
This movie's so stressful. Okay, so I'm just thinking about what I'm literally about to say is that the next scene is of the men shooting skeet, which, okay, hold on. I obviously know that there's like different forms of hunting, but I was like, this is the laziest hunting I've ever seen. They literally have these people go into the woods with like flags and like wave them around so the birds fly out, and then people
Yeah.
just stand there and shoot the birds,
shoot
and like that's it. I was like, this is the laziest thing I've ever seen. Like, you literally took like 90% of what hunting is and threw it in the garbage, and you're just like, haha, me shoot.
Me shoot animal, me kill things. Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's almost as gross as fox hunting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is another one where they take all the actual hunting out of hunting. Hunting, I'm not a wild fan of hunting, but I'm like, if you're actually like hunting for survival, hunting for your food, then that's one thing. But like this, it's lazy. It's exactly what you said. It's like they're just like
I feel like 90% of hunting is like the part where you actually kill the animal is a very small percentage of what's actually happening. You're like going out into the woods. You have to like have all your equipment. You have to know how to use all your equipment, practice with it, learn how to track, like, like all these different things. And then maybe you're out there for hours. There's just a lot of moving pieces. I don't hunt, but you know what I'm trying to say, or it's like there's a lot of different things. It's not literally just me aim, me shoot, which I feel like is basically what they've reduced it to here.
me kill.
So I was like, oh my god, these royal people need to like get another hobby. It's crazy.
Touch grass, royal family. Touch grass.
Exactly.
That's what I have to say.
And I fully understand that like people need to hunt. I think like hunting for your meat is like way more humane than like definitely getting it from the grocery store. Like, I don't know. They really just cranked it up to another level of laziness. I was like, what is that?
Extra gross behavior from the royals. Not that we're surprised.
No, we're not surprised. I was just I hadn't seen this form of bird hunting, so I was like, okay, all right.
You obviously just don't consume the type of crap that I do because like maybe it's just that I'm like I said, I'm a bit of a Britophile. Like I'm very into like the royalty and English and the aristocracy. And this is like very much a like nobleman's pursuit is this very lazy and shitty form of hunting.
Oh yeah, I know nothing about Britain. Full stop. I just don't know anything. We've listed all two things. It took us however long this podcast has been so far to figure out all two things I know about Britain. So that's it. That's the comprehensive list. I guess three now. Now I know that this is a thing people with way too much money do.
And now you know about the corgis.
I know about the corgis. I'm learning. I'm gonna have to go read a book or something after this. My god. Okay, so anyway, they're all shooting the birds and everything, and Diana comes out and she like holds her arms up and she like is demanding that her children come with her.
Yeah, she's in the red coat that she got off the scarecrow at the beginning of the movie. She like puts it on so that she's like at least like, I think it's so that she can stand out. And you running out in front of where they are skeet shooting and being like, stop skeet shooting. I think that she wanted to be wearing red for that.
That makes sense. I didn't think about that. So she like demands her boys come with her and they join hands and they run off. And then they're leaving them.
Charles and Elizabeth and like all the royals are like very much like blue stealing her, just like the meanest gazes. Like they don't fucking like what she's doing at all. And even like Major Gregory, the guy from earlier, is like, Your Highness, would you like me to take care of this issue for you? Charles is like, no, my boys are going with their mother. Like, just kind of like shuts him down. And then they're all just like glaring at her as like the boys run to her across the field. It's like sweet moment.
Yeah, and they run off, like she's holding hands with both of them and they run off. And then the next scene is them leaving the manor and all three of them sit on the scale together. And she's like, this is how much I enjoyed myself, 17 and a half stone, which I thought was really cute because she's just like, fuck you, we're leaving.
Like, fuck you and you weighing me.
Yeah, exactly. So then she drives off with them in the convertible from the beginning of the movie. And this was just like a small thing, but one of her boys is like, it's cold. And she's like, then turn up the heat. Because like at the beginning of the movie, they were all complaining about like how cold they were. And she's like, they just want us to pile ourselves under blankets.
Apparently, the Windsors have more money than God, but don't want to pay a heating bill. So there's that.
Very strange.
But yeah, it's cute. The end of the movie is really cute. They like all drive off. I think it like ends with them getting like fast food. And
yeah, they get KFC.
Yeah, it's like super sweet. It's kind of sad because I think that I am not like 100% an expert on the royal family, but I kind of feel like that the ending of the movie was a bit apocryphal. I don't think Diana ever got her kids like that. Like literally ever.
Since she's having delusions the whole movie, is the whole like last part of the movie a delusion?
Oh, that's a point that I didn't even consider.
Because at the very end when they're eating, like they're like eating on a bench by like a river or some sort of waterway, and she's like leaning over the rail and she looks at her kids and she looks really happy. Then it starts to zoom in on her and she looks sad. And then you mentioned like she doesn't get her kids at the end, but I wonder if either one, like the whole thing is just a delusion, or two, like she has like one really nice day with her kids and like knows it's not gonna last.
And knows it's not gonna last and they're gonna come and get them. Yeah, that's the only thing that I could see is like, it just being like, oh, well, you can have them for right now, but we're coming back to get them later.
Yeah.
But I think like that's a good point. Like the whole movie, you really like it's hard sometimes to discern like what in reality is actually happening and what is only happening in Diana's mind.
I think we're not supposed to know.
I don't think we're supposed to know either, but that's like a really good point that I didn't even like think of from that angle. Because she has like a really sad moment, like 3/4 of the way through or something, where she's like, I'm just like a regular girl. I like middle class things. I like Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis, and I like fast food and takeaway. And they're just trying to like smother me. I'll never be able to be who I am. And then, like you said, the movie ends, they literally get KFC. I think that you might be right. Like it could all be a delusion.
That's how she could live, like just take her kids and just go and live a regular life. Because also in the car they ask, where are we going? And she says home. Just sad.
That is sad because Diana's home is gone. Diana's home, you see that like Diana has no home, like other than like with the royals, like with the whole thing with her family estate being derelict like that. Wow, I just got goosebumps like all up and down. My whole body went whoa. Man, that's even sadder. Because, I mean, I think you're exactly right. Because we do all know what ended up happening to her.
They also, you pointed this out, that they don't ever say what year it is.
No.
So we don't know, like, exactly where, like, obviously we have an idea of where it is in the timeline, but we don't know, like, 100%.
Man, this is such a good movie. I think that I said at the beginning that neither of us really knew at all what to expect going into this, but I just speaking for myself, this blew me away, honestly, like with how good it is and how like poignant I thought it was. Like I really felt like that was like a really like as much as anyone can ever know because obviously we can't, but I feel like that was like probably a really good portrait of like those last few years of Diana, like when she was trying to like, because that's right before she gets out. She does get divorced from Charles at some point.
This whole thing is stressful. I know it's all like in the past and already happened, and there's like, even if it wasn't, there's nothing we can do about it. But I just feel like so sad for her.
I just want to help her. How can
I know.
we help her?
I know. It's how I feel. I'm like, oh my god. This is horrible.
Like, somebody do something.
Yeah, it's over. There's nothing we can do. It's not funny. It's just crazy.
Crazy. Honestly, I'm just honestly blown away by how good this movie was, how good Kristen Stewart did in this role. I honestly, like, it gives me goosebumps. Like I said, I couldn't have a higher regard for this movie.
I agree. I can't believe that literally the only reason I know about this movie is because we're making a Twilight podcast. Like, that's the only reason I've ever heard of it, and for why. It was so good. Why have I never heard of this?
Yeah. Well, dang, guys. Honestly, I think we're both a little speechless.
Yeah, I go watch it. If you need it with audio description, it's only available on Apple TV and nowhere else. So,
Sadly.
yeah,
Very sad. Sad for me.
Apple
That
got 10
audio.
of my dollars by having the monopoly on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. We'll split it. It'll be fine.
Oh, no, no, no.
But
Absolutely not. I will get this one. That's the
okay.
least I can do. And now I own
Yeah.
a really good movie, so it was worth it.
Yeah, not upsetting.
No, I think that there's some rewatch value here for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, should we talk about our rating?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I want to say one thing about the rating before we start. For some reason, at the last podcast, I was like, it was a 4 out of 4 scale, and neither of us caught it. Like, we were both just like, yep, sounds good. What is even a 4 out of 4 scale? Who rates 6 out of 4? Why did I say that? It was out of 5. The first one was out of 5, which makes sense because, like, oh, give it 5 stars. Like, we've all seen that. Why did I say 4 in the last one? So last time, I think I gave Twilight like 4 out of 4 stars, but we equated it to like it has full marks. It's Twilight, so on a Twilight scale, of course, it's going to be a 5
Twilight,
or
yeah.
like a full marks. So at least that'll translate easily. But anyway, I think it's 5. I know it's 5 because I checked. Listening
Yeah.
back to it when I was editing, I was like, why did I say that?
I know. I can't believe, honestly, like you said, I just can't believe that neither of us caught it because I listened to it as well before it was posted. So
I guess it doesn't really matter because, like I said, it's if we gave it, full marks, that's the same on every scale. But I just don't know
yeah.
what possessed me to say that.
No, it was a weird moment.
So anyway, we will be rating this movie out of 5, and the scaling is we rate it twice. We rate it one on a Twilight scale, and then again on an enjoyability scale.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, like, on an enjoyability scale, like an enjoyability and quality of this movie, like, honestly, like, I mean, I feel like maybe it's a bit trite to say that this has full marks for me, but like honestly, I loved this movie. I really liked like everything about it. The costumes were fun. The audio description was really good. The soundtrack, the audio design of this whole movie was incredible to me. Like I really liked it. I really noticed how good it was through the movie, and that's how like I can really tell that like it was good. Like on a first watch, it's something that I picked up on.
The camera work was also incredible. Like every single shot, like even like the nothing shot, like the shot of her like walking into the room with the Christmas tree. Like it was just like so nicely done and perfectly framed, and she's like perfectly centered the whole time. Or like there's always like a rule of thirds happening in like every single shot where you can tell that like they really really thought about this. Or like the scene where she's eating soup, she's like in the middle of the shot but it's like panned down the table, but somehow she's still like the thing that's most in focus despite the fact that there's people in front of her. I don't know, it looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
We liked it.
It was
Everything
really
about it.
good. The movie was good. We both liked it. I personally, let's do my rating is on an enjoyability scale. I'm gonna go ahead. That little diatribe you just went on really convinced me. I'm gonna be trite and I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 stars on an
Wow.
enjoyability scale.
Wow.
I liked it. I will definitely watch it again.
I think I have to agree actually because I didn't complain. I don't think I complained once about anything. Like
No.
not like obviously I said like the thing about the hunting and whatever, but that's just like that wasn't about the movie at all. You know? Like I don't think I made a single complaint about this movie. I don't know. I'm thinking like what would take away a point, but like I liked the pacing. I don't want to say I liked how it made me feel, but I think it made me feel the things they wanted me to feel when I was supposed to feel them.
Like, it was accurately, designed.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to say I felt good at any point in the movie. I felt really anxious most of the time, but I felt like that was how I was supposed to feel like at these different moments. I think they just did a really good job. I think it is a 5 out of 5 on an enjoyability scale.
I think that's just an incredible fucking movie all around. Like, if you need two dumb girls' opinion, like, please watch this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be forcing people to watch this movie.
But then let's go to our second rating of on a Twilight scale. I don't think that this is a bad thing, but I don't think that this has much Twilightiness at all.
I don't think so either. I think maybe I'd give it like a 1/2, just
Yeah.
because there's a lot of rich, beautiful people.
Rich, beautiful people.
I guess Diana's like the only one that's like really fashionable and stuff, but like they like live in a really fancy house and there's like a rich family that's very elegant, which is kind of how they describe the vampires. So maybe I'd give it like a 1/2.
Like a half. And then maybe like I feel like some of the color palette choicing in like the mistiness and stuff was kind of similar.
Yeah, I could see that.
So like yeah, but that's like maybe a half star. Like it's not very comparable. And like Kristen Stewart does barely sound like herself. There was only like 2 moments in the entire movie, and not that these were detracting from how much she was really genuinely sounding like Diana, like her character, but there was like 2 moments in the movie where I was like recognized that that was Kristen Stewart's voice.
Yeah, she did a really good job with the accent. It sounded very natural.
But it's not very high, and that makes me feel somewhat like weirdly shitty because I don't want this movie to.
I think it's fine. I don't think that like full marks has to be a positive necessarily on the Twilight scale.
Okay, that's the point. That's a really good point, actually, because that maybe the Twilight scale isn't the scale that this movie should be judged on.
I don't think so. I think like obviously enjoyment, like the higher the better. But on the Twilight scale, I think it's like a sliding scale.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that there's a good or bad on that scale. It just is what it is.
It just is. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I will give this like a half a mark, a half a point for Twilightiness. Full marks for enjoyability.
I agree.
Yay!
Wow. Well, we did it. We evened it out. We did the Robert Pattinson movie, then we did the Kristen Stewart movie. So now we got to think about what to do next.
What to do next? Yeah. Are we going to do, maybe we should do 1 or 2 more Christy and Robert movies?
That would be fun. We could also do the Twilight graphic novel. It's an option.
Oh, that's an option. There's a graphic novel. There's an illustrated guide.
Oh my God, the illustrated guide. Not the illustrated guide.
We have been seeing some stuff from that recently. We are going to have to do a little bit of a coverage of that at some point here very shortly.
Oh yeah, we don't necessarily know if it will be the next thing. It might be, but also it might be a couple podcasts from now, but it is 100% happening.
It's coming. It's coming, guys. All is coming. If anybody out there listening has any like suggestions of what might be fun for you to listen to that we could cover, like please let us know. Reach out at any of our socials, at Nichole and Giu Live. We're on Gmail, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We honestly, like, Nichole and Giu Live, almost anywhere will find us.
Yep, and wherever you're listening, literally leave a comment. We'll definitely see it. Just tell us what you think we should cover. And like Nichole said, if you want to hear 2 kind of dumb girls talk about it, we got you covered.
Oh yeah, we do. Join us next time, guys. We haven't 100% decided what it'll be yet, but it'll be something good.
Thanks for listening. See you guys next time.
Bye!